Well, the first thing is, what if you're not wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And see, the thing that I have found is one of the tools we have in Access, and we have a lot of tools, which I find are very helpful as we navigate our lives to be able to call on something to change what's up in the moment or to bring awareness to it. Because the only time we really stick ourselves is when we're functioning from a lie. And what's true always makes you lighter. A lie always makes you heavier. And
Mm-hmm.
so and a lot of the people that I work with have experienced forms of abuse that they don't recognize or that seem from their point of view like less abuse than others. There's the whole gamut, but the fundamental idea is, what if you're not wrong?
Mm.
And what if what occurred for you was not about you, was not about making you wrong? Because we've done several classes actually on clearing the issues of abuse. And one of the things that we recognized is one of the conversations that I have with people who've experienced abuse is, look, if you've experienced this and you're still putting one foot in front of the other, if you're not perpetrating the cycle, but you've ended the cycle, you have a lot of power that you haven't acknowledged. And in fact, in diving deep with people who've experienced this that are willing to go there,
Mm.
and it's an interestingly intense topic that we're starting off on here. There's so many lighter topics, but I think it's really helpful for people to be able to have some perspective on this. And one of the things that we found is, for so many of the people that have been abused, it wasn't actually personal. It was because they were the most powerful person around, and
Mm.
somebody who does abuse feels like they have no power. So if they can get power over that person, then it
Mm.
gives them a sense that they somehow have power. So if we can partially at least take it out of the idea that it's about you being wrong and that's why you experienced it,
All
what
right.
is actually underneath it that nobody else is looking at or talking about? And also, what strength do you have for having survived it? And
Mm.
what further strength do you have for desiring to create a different outcome with your life? So how
Yep.
much power do you really have?
Yes. Right. I really like that idea of like, you went through this super challenging thing, and as a result, an unexpected byproduct. There's power at your disposal that it is helped to propagate, like this idea of something. I always say smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and you came to be a skilled sailor. And if you were on really choppy seas, you've got some real you know power there waiting under the surface. The other thing that kind of comes to mind is you know um, when we start labeling things, you know it really, you got to be really careful, I think, with this. I was traumatized, I was abused, I was, the story around it carries so much power. And
Yes.
imagine, like if I punch you in the face, and then you then take a story around that. Brandon and I was there, and we were supposed to have this great moment together, and he lost his temper, and he punched me in the face and abused me, and ridiculed me, and all this energy around it that you could then go carry forever, and retell and relive, and wade in the pool of that energy. Or there was a fist, it struck my face, it stung, it's just the universe was moving in some
Yeah.
way, and if you can really keep in the forefront of your mind this idea, it's all energy sort of balancing itself in some way beyond what you can fully comprehend. And there is this impersonal aspect to it of, like, one time the universe exploded, and it's still exploding outwards, and here we are 13 billion years later, and now this fist struck this chin, like, well, as opposed to all the story and energy that goes with that story around it that disempowers us. I think that's a really interesting thing to sort of take some of the sting away.
Absolutely. It's interesting because people are often validated for their story by others who have a desire to validate, or a trauma of a of a sort of their own. And
Yeah.
one of the things that we do with the Access Consciousness tools is get people to that perspective that you're talking about, which is where everything is an interesting point of view, which we call allowance, which rather than the alignment and agreement, which is the positive polarity, like, where somebody goes, you're a jerk, and you go, oh my God, I'm a jerk, which is the positive polarity. You've just made it real. And then what happens is we do the negative polarity to try to overcome it, which is, I'm not a jerk, you're a jerk. Whereas if somebody goes, you're a jerk, you're like, okay, which is allowance, which it gives us the freedom to go beyond using the story to re-traumatize ourselves and to need to seek validation from others. And it also, and the other beautiful thing about that is it allows us to go beyond the victim mentality to a creator mentality, which is an interesting thing, because there's such a draw when someone has experienced something that's very intense, very painful from their perspective. But like you said, that's part of the story. And there's such a draw for us to continuously like repeat the pain, if you will. And if we can break that cycle, there's a level of freedom that exists, because quantum physics will tell us that if you're vibrating like something, you're going to attract it into your life. Yeah. So if you're vibrating from, I was abused and I need to try to avoid abuse, you're going to find all kinds of situations that occur that seem abusive that you need to try to avoid. Well, that's because your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view. So part of the freedom that truly functioning from a conscious point of view allows us is to get over our fixed point of view. So we don't have to bring that into our lives anymore. Now it starts to become a matter of, what would I like my life to be? What would I like to choose? What choices do I have that I've never acknowledged?
I love what you just said. I'm writing it down here, that your point of view creates your reality. Your reality doesn't create your point of view. And wow, I mean, that's really realizing that is, it's so empowering. So empowering. And, also approaching these sorts of things with, you said acceptance, like curiosity, like, oh, wow. You think I'm a jerk. Interesting. I wonder, how can I reflect? Like, what can I get from that? Hearing that, how can I like use that as some sort of a reflection, as opposed to needing that validation or needing to prove, I know that's a big part of my own journey, has been not needing to be right, and just overcoming that need to argue you into submission, So I think that has been a big one for me personally. So,
you and me both, my friend.
And
there's another element of that needing to be right, where we need to be right that we're wrong. Whatever point of view we take about us, we tend to try to then be right about that point of view.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how many people want to be right about their wrong, whether they bought that point of view when they were younger, whatever their life experience has been. And it's interesting to present the possibility to people that, what if you're not wrong? And what if you don't have to try to prove you're right? Because people always try to prove the opposite of what they believe they are or what they've decided they are. And so the only time we try to prove we're right is if we fundamentally have some sense of wrongness for something somewhere. We're trying to prove the opposite of that. But what if we could turn the whole thing on its ear? What if we could just show up and go, hi, here I am, warts and all. I've got some great stuff. I've got some screwed up stuff. I've got all kinds of stuff I've changed and all kinds of stuff I'm still working on, and all kinds of hopes and dreams and desires for the future. And where can we play together? How can we contribute to each other?
Yeah. I love that.